Hello, welcome to Agrestal Vestige, where we are vested in all things Agrestal. Yet again, another week, yet again, another blended Scotch whiskey. This week, I have a pretty old, traditional, and somewhat grand, at least in my opinion, blended Scotch whiskey. That is White Horse. White Horse. Yep. It's been around a long time. It is blended at 40%. I know we like a little bit stronger ones, but this one is one of the few that's blended at 40% that still maintains a lot of flavor. This now is a Diageo product. I'll get into all that a little later on. Let's go ahead and pour a wee dram of this to see what we can come up with. For those of you who've never tried White Horse, next time you're in a bottle shop somewhere, I'd pick one up. It's an old-fashioned flavor profile that you don't get in a lot of the more modern Scotch whiskies. Anyway, what do we have here? White Horse blended Scotch whiskey. On the nose, the first thing you have is very distinctly peaty. An Islay type peat. Smoky. It's got an old wood muskiness about it. Yeah, that old wood muskiness is quite lovely, actually. It's a touch of sherry influence in there somewhere, like it's been maturated in sherry cask, at least a portion of this. You get blood oranges. Prunes. But really it's just distinctly smoky. Smoky and peaty, which is quite lovely for a blended Scotch whiskey. On the nose, it's a lot more complex than many of the single malt scotches that I've tried over the years. It is very welcoming, especially if you like smoke and peat and fruity type overtones, nuttiness. Okay, on the palate. It's a very oily, viscous mouthfeel, similar to what you get on a lot of single malts. Again, distinctly peaty, distinctly smoky, and it has on the palate a bit of Manuka honey flavor, a bit of the fruit notes, but kind of dusky fruit notes. Maybe it goes along with the dusky wood notes, but it's like an older ripening fruit. Praline. It's slightly medicinal, which you would expect from an Islay type profile. A bit of coal dust, a bit of that industrial type flavor in there. A bit of the old linseed oil too, actually. People don't use linseed oil so much anymore, but it has that distinctive linseedy linseedy type oil flavor. On the finish, you do get some spiciness there, but it's not overwhelming. It's just kind of a nice subtle hint of spiciness, like peppery spices. You get the barley malt distinctly comes through. The smokiness comes through. I mean, it's quite a lovely dram. Quite a complex whiskey to be bottled at 40%. I'm going to add a couple of milliliters of water, simply because it is bottled at 40% and not higher. But I'm going to see, since it is an oily whiskey, I'm going to see if the water does open up anything. Now, the White Horse whiskey, it can trace its roots back to like 1650, and I think it was the John Mackay family that originally started a merchant shop. Actually, I had downloaded something about the history of it. I thought was quite interesting, and I want to read you that while this is opening up. It says, first produced by James Logan Mackay in Edinburgh in 1861. The name White Horse was associated with the Mackay family of Edinburgh. They acquired the White Horse Inn in Canongate, part of Edinburgh, around 1650. And it stayed in the family until 1917, with the death of the last male decedent. The inn was the starting point for one of the express coaches, and it's known that the dictionary guy, Dr. Samuel Johnson, stayed there, as well as James Boswell, before they traveled on to the Hebrides. The company itself can trace its history to 1880, when James Logan Mackay founded whiskey merchant James Logan Mackay and Co., which by 1884 held a stake in the Islay distillery Lagavulin, taking the name from the inn James owned, Edinburgh's Canongate, and launched White Horse blended whiskey. Now, they mention Lagavulin. It says on the bottle that Lagavulin is the majority malt that constitutes this blend. And that's true, but there's also, Kalila, Talisker, I think that's it. Possibly Glen Elgin, I can't remember. But Talisker, Kalila, which Kalila's in lots of blends. But Lagavulin makes up the largest majority in this blend, which is why you have that Islay type reference to the flavor, as well as the Kalila. After it's set with the water, let's see. Now you're picking up a bit of chicory, coffee notes, chicory coffee notes, chicory wood notes, blossoms, orange blossoms, apricots, but none of the other profiles on the nose initially went away. It's quite intense on the nose, actually. It's quite robust and complex. Again, I love this blend. I drink this blend quite frequently. You can even get this blend in larger bottles. And yeah, I've had a dram or two out of that one. Anyway, On the palate now. Now you got a nice toffee caramel coming through. Just a slight touch of sea salt. That coastalness, that again comes from Islay. Seaweed, coastally, sea salty type profile. Slight sage and thyme herbaceousness to it. Some undefinable vegetation type notes. Yeah. That's in addition to that Manuka honey and dried fruit notes, linseed oil, praline type medicinally cold dusty thing that I mentioned earlier. Also, but it's like a shortbread. It's quite biscuity. It's quite nice, actually. I know I keep saying that, but very few blends really pop and really stand out. And the one I just reviewed, a few weeks ago, Teacher's Highland Cream, that's one that really stands out. And I would say that Teacher's Highland Cream and White Horse are probably my personal go-to, always have on hand blended Scotch whiskies. If I'm not in a mood for anything else, I'll always default to one of those two. And it's about a 50-50 how I default to them. I find both of them extremely well produced, and the flavor profile is so complex it beats a lot of vatted malts and single malts that I've tried out there. On the finish, after adding the water, the heavy malt note, the creamy vanilla, slightly oakish, along with the peppery spices, it's a very, very much a mouth-coating, oily, viscousy type whiskey. And in saying that, yes, water did add a little flavors because it brought them out in the oils in the whiskey. I wouldn't add more than a couple of milliliters to a standard dram pour, because I think any more than that it would start to break up. This is just fine as it is neat. It's quite robust, but adding just a wee bit of water does help bring out a few extra little notes, especially this spicy peppery notes on the finish. But as far as the nose, the arrival, the development, the finish is extremely well balanced. I don't think you will find many whiskeys that are blended Scotch whiskeys that are as well balanced as this. As far as marks, out of 100, I would undoubtedly, without hesitation, give this a solid 92 out of 100, which I think, looking back, is what I gave Teacher's Highland Cream. But if you like that Islay profile, this may be a cheaper version for you to get introduced to. Remember, a few weeks ago I did Islay Mist too, Okay, that's an Islay profile whiskey, but this is an Islay profile whiskey that's completely different. That was more Lafroigish. This is a combination of a lot of the others. And the grain whiskey used in this has been very well matured, very well blended. It's been blended slowly over time. It's been given time to marry. Again, 92 out of 100 is a solid score, and that's what I wholeheartedly give it. Like I said, I have defaulted to this for a long time. It and Teachers is my two favorite blended Scotch whiskies. I don't know what else to say. I guess the Islay profile to this is compared to the Highlandy profile of the Teachers, that takes up a large percentage of real estate in Scotland. There are blends out there, Speyside type blends that we'll get to later, and that may be equal to this if that's your favor profile of choice. But anyway, lovely. Lovely, robust, long-lasting, flavorful. You'll enjoy it. Until next time, this is Tom. Bye-bye.